Hey everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of The Silver Scream. My name is Tom, and I'm here with Grahm.
Hello.
Episode 0. I said the first episode, but yeah, I think this is kind of like our little introduction. Like, we've barely spoken to each other so far, like, we're just getting to know each other, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of just we're gonna talk about horror movies and why we love them so much, and then we're gonna get on to, you know, the meat of the. I don't know, how would you put it?
The outline of the future podcasts.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, we should do a little brief one of that already. We've got a list of movies that we put together of some really old, some new, some really bad, some really good horror movies.
Some really obscure.
Some crazy ones, yeah, that I haven't seen, and you haven't seen either, I think, Graham.
Yeah.
And we're gonna every couple of weeks we're gonna do an episode, but we're gonna randomly pick one of those movies out of the list and have to watch that one and talk about it. So it's kind of exciting. We don't know what we're gonna get, and at the end of this episode, we're gonna do the first movie.
Well, pick the first movie, anyways.
Pick it, yeah, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, we'll pick the first movie, and then we'll have a couple of weeks to watch it, I guess. So, I mean, we should talk about our history of horror first, I think, really. So, I mean, Grab, what's your favorite horror movie?
Probably has to be John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982.
That's cool.
I just think it's a perfect blend of suspense, body horror. It's got great acting, great practical effects. It's probably one of my favorite movies. It's just a classic, and I think it will really stand the test of time.
That's so cool. It's actually one of those movies that I haven't seen as well. A lot of the like older horror movies I haven't seen, which is kind of why I want to do this show as well, because it gives me an excuse to watch some of these films. But yeah, The Thing's one of those ones I haven't seen. I saw the remake, but I didn't enjoy that very much.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I liked a lot of the connections between the two movies, but there's a lot of behind the scenes drama that if I were to go and do it, it'd take like maybe a good 20 minutes. But
let's save it for the episode then when we get around to it.
But I don't lay the blame on the directors and filmmakers themselves.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But yeah, I mean, The Thing is definitely one of those movies I want to see at some point down the line. So I'm excited to check that out.
Yeah.
My favorite horror movie, I mean, it's hard to pick one, I think, but whenever I think about horror movies I really enjoy that I've seen a few times over, it's always been The Conjuring for me.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty enjoyable horror movie. I saw that one and then The Nun. I haven't seen anything else in that
Oh, The Nun.
franchise.
That's not a good movie. Yeah, The Nun's bad. Yeah.
I like the ending, but yeah, it's a little too stereotypical.
Yeah, I found it a bit sort of cringy to watch. I mean, there were elements of it were scary, but I thought The Nun was better before you knew too much about her, when she was just this kind of like enigmatic presence in the other movies, and she was just there.
Well, like the Nun, it's supposed to be kind of like an origin story, but like we don't really learn that much. It's just kind of a jump scare fest. There's
Yeah.
not much character development until like the last scene, until it connects to the first one, but otherwise it's like an amusement park ride.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, yeah, when I think back to it, I think there was a lot of spin-off movies that came after The Conjuring, and not all of them were good. I've seen quite a few of them now, but yeah, to me, Conjuring has always just been the best one. It's got a good story to it. There's like a good plot development, and it doesn't just feel like a horror movie with cheap scares. Like, it has like genuine feeling, and it keeps. I don't know. It feels like more than just a horror movie. It's like a good movie, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's a good family dynamic. The Warrens are great. A lot of the scares are there's a bit more to them than just a person jumping out at the camera. Like I'm specifically thinking of the scene where the mother's doing the laundry and then the sheet flies to reveal the
Yeah,
outline. Like, that's so creative and unique, and
yeah,
very
that's
rarely do we see that nowadays.
yeah. You're right. It is a really good scene, actually. I forgot about that part as well. Yeah, they just do some things that other movies just should be doing but aren't, and it's not incredibly difficult to achieve. They just did it, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah.
It's also pretty scary as well. There's some pretty creepy, like the effects are quite good as well. Like when the mother turns, she genuinely looks scary, and yeah, it's just cool.
Yeah.
What would you say is the scariest horror movie you've ever seen?
Um. Well, I that's a difficult one for me because there's a lot of movies that I watch and they'll be creepy. I'm like, oh yeah, that was pretty creepy, but very rarely does a movie really scare me. Um, I wouldn't say this movie really scared me, but the most recent Suspiria remake was pretty intense and frightening. I personally think the scariest type of horror movie is a movie where a lot of it's left to my imagination,
That's cool.
and that ending is just I don't even know how to describe it. I saw it a couple weeks ago and I'm still trying to process it. Um the the movie that came out in 2018, Annihilation, that
Oh
was
yeah.
a lot of great cosmic horror and it was up to interpretation. I mean, one of my favorite scenes in cinematic history is the bear scene. Just both the effects and the sound design and the sound mixing and the way that they incorporate the story into that scare. I don't want to spoil it in case anyone hasn't seen it yet. I highly recommend the movie. But yeah, that movie really messed with me.
Did you say Annihilation? Was that the movie you're
Yeah,
talking about? I
Annihilation.
I haven't seen that yet because I didn't realize it was a horror movie. I saw the trailer and I kind of just thought it was like a sci-fi film, and I didn't really think it was for me. But maybe I should go back and watch it now.
It's like a sci-fi cosmic horror kind of with hints of Lovecraftian stories, but it's pretty original in its own thing.
That's cool. I should check that out then. It's not
Yeah,
on our list, so I mean that means it's free to watch, right? I could just kind of watch it when I like.
yeah.
All right, I'll check that out. For me, the scariest horror movie, you're probably gonna laugh because it's probably so terrible, but I haven't watched it in so many years because it frightened me so much. Um, was the remake of The Grudge with Sarah Michelle Gellar? I can't remember who was in it. Do you
I
know the one I'm
actually
on about?
haven't seen it.
It's really a bad movie, I'm sure. But I watched it when I was about 10 years old, I must have been. I went to a friend's house and she had it on VHS and she said, "Oh, we should watch this movie. It's really good. It's really scary." And I'd never really encountered a scary movie before. So I said, "Yeah, sure, let's put it on." And she put it on. She turned all the lights out. She shut all the curtains. She made it pitch black in there. And I watched it. And the intro is just this scene where there's a Japanese woman in this house with looking after an elderly woman, and she keeps hearing noises around the house, and she's walking around just trying to work out what it is. And she comes across a door. I haven't seen this in years, so I could be completely wrong. But she comes across this door that's covered up and sort of barricaded, and she takes it all apart and goes into this room. And there's like an attic above her head, and she pokes her head up into the attic and she holds up a lighter and she's sort of looking around with this lighter, and then you just see the ghost in the background just in the shadows, and then as she turns the light towards it, it just jumps at her face. And it honestly, it scared me so much as a child. Like I couldn't sleep. I remember that was the only time I've ever been that scared over a horror movie, and I had to open the curtains, I had to turn the lights on. I did watch the rest of the movie, but I was really like disturbed by that because I think that was the first time I'd been introduced to such a, I don't know, just such horror. Like such a sheltered life against those kind of movies from a child, and then just suddenly having that, it just really messed with me.
Yeah, I understand. When I was a kid, as much as I loved Jurassic Park, those Velociraptors gave me nightmares every single time I watched it. Um, and then there's a dark horror comedy called Slither by James Gunn. I
I've heard of that.
rewatched it, I want to say like a year ago, and I loved it. I thought it was so funny, but I caught a piece of it on cable when I was like 8 or 9. It scared the shit out of me. Like, oh my god. I was so scared of that movie for a while, but once you look at it from a different light, I guess I wasn't.
Yeah, sure, I get you. I mean, nowadays it takes a lot to scare me with a horror movie. I tend to get more scared if I'm around people that are scared, or if I end up watching something on my own. But if I'm just watching a movie with, say, my girlfriend or like a couple of people that just like those kind of movies, then it's fine. Like I don't get scared at all. It just doesn't seem to mess with me.
Yeah.
But I remember it's not a movie, but when I was a kid, when I was about 13, I played Resident Evil 1 on the GameCube. I
Ah.
don't know if you played many horror games. I don't know. We haven't talked about this, but
I played the most recent Resident Evil 2 remake, but
I've got it, but I haven't played it yet. I'm waiting till like a golden opportunity I can sit down and play it for a few hours.
yeah, that's the best way to do it. I played through Leon's first scenario and then Claire's second scenario in one day, and it was so much fun.
Oh, I bet that sounds really great. I wish I had the time to still do that kind of stuff. It sucks, but I mean, yeah, one of these days I'm gonna sit down and just hammer it out. But when I played Resident Evil 1, I used to stand in front of my TV as like a 13-year-old kid, just still scared by this game. I was so terrified. I used to have the controller in one hand and the other hand had my finger on the power button of the console. And if anything too scary happened, I would just hit the power button and walk away straight away. And that was just how I dealt with it. And I never completed it. Surprise, surprise. Um, yeah, I found that game really hard. So one of these days, I'm going to go back and beat it. I have got it on PS4, the like HD version. So yeah, it's on my list.
Yeah.
Um, let's see what else. Oh, disturbing horror movies. Okay, there's plenty of them, but I mean, what ones have you seen? What ones do you like?
Disturbing horror movies. Hereditary. That movie was very disturbing. It was a very subtle horror movie for the first, I want to say, three-fourths of the movie. It was more of a family drama, which really helped build to the horror, and you really felt for the characters when supernatural shit starts going down, and that you are just as disturbed as the characters in the movie, because up until then it was pretty grounded in reality. But even when things start going down, it's still kind of grounded in reality, so it makes it feel real. It's not like super absurd. And I watched it, I want to say 3 or 4 times in the theater, and each time
Wow,
I got even more enjoyment out of it.
that sounds awesome. I've not seen that film, but it just sounds like the kind of thing I would really get into. Just stuff that like slowly builds up and then it kind of just messes with you at the end. Like that's my jam. That's the kind of stuff I'm into.
Yeah, and it's on our list, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's the thing about our list is that there's some movies I really want to watch, but we've kind of got to wait for them to come up on the random generator. So we've got some like suspense and excitement
Yeah.
already. The most disturbing horror movie I ever saw. There's a couple. I don't know if one of them can really be classed as a horror movie, so much it is just a fucked up movie. It was called a Serbian film. Have you ever
Ah,
seen?
I've heard of it.
I got it. So when I was about 17, I worked in a restaurant part time on the weekends, and one of the chefs at the restaurant just gave it to me and said, "You should watch this film. It's a good movie." And I didn't know what I was getting into, so me and my buddy we watched it together. And yeah, that film's really, really disturbing. Like, it's not scary. It's just super dark. Like, I don't know who made that film or why they thought that was a good idea, because it just seems like they made it just to be disgusting. You know?
From what I heard, it's just a lot of torture porn. Is that accurate
Y-
at all?
Yeah, completely. That's basically the whole movie, but it just goes to such like grotesque extents. You kind of think like, yeah, it just gets so dark. Like it's not on our list. I mean, maybe we should put it on the list, but we'll see. We'll see how we go. But the one movie that definitely is a horror film that I really enjoyed, but it was really hard to watch was Martyrs.
Ah,
I think I watched the original. It was French that I watched.
I think the remake is in English. I heard the remake was terrible.
I don't think it was that one I watched because it was definitely in a different language and I had to read subtitles, so it must have been the original. But yeah, that was so dark. I don't know if you've seen that film.
No, but it's on our list and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it is a good film. Like as much as like I found it so difficult to watch and it was like a really like a disturbing film. I'm still looking forward to watching that again because it had a really good story and like the the overall plot that you like eventually discover. It doesn't, you don't find anything out until maybe 2/3 of the way through the film about what's going on, and when you do, it's just, yeah, like it makes sense, but you just feel so dirty from watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that one coming up. So what else have we got? We got
Um.
God, do you want to take the next one?
Yeah. How has horror affected us growing up?
Okay. Um, do you want to start with this one, and then
Um.
I'll, I'll go.
Yeah. I'll go first. So horror was always it was something that I both loved and hated as a kid because I like I liked being scared as a kid, but at the same time I would always be super freaked out by it. It was always this kind of forbidden thing because I'd sneak upstairs and watch R-rated movies on cable. Um, and there was a lot of movies I probably shouldn't have been watching at that age, but I did. Didn't understand most of it. A lot of really bad horror movies on sci-fi. Um, I I eventually grew up, and then when I was able to start watching more movies, I started to lean more towards horror just because of that impact it had on me as a younger child. And then I started exploring. I started going to more philosophical horror movies, more family drama or drama oriented horror movies, and I got to see a lot more violent horror movies, uncensored. Um, and I really like that. It really led to a passion for just weird creatures and insane amounts of gore, even if it's unrealistic. And I it made my love for horror what it is today.
That's so cool. I mean, like I kind of have a different a sort of approach. Like I said before when I was talking about The Grudge, I was brought up kind of like sheltered from horror. Like I was never, I never watched them as a kid growing up, and my parents never put them on or got me to watch them or anything. So I was kind of like really in the dark about what I liked, and I think that's kind of what grew on me because they were such an unknown thing that I wasn't quite familiar with yet, and I had to kind of find my feet in a way and just find these random horror movies and just work out what I liked and just build on it from there. So I'm trying to think. I remember my dad, I think it was, said he was like, "Oh, we're gonna watch a scary movie tonight," and I remember thinking I must have been about 15, thinking, "Oh, I don't know about this," and he brought out Shaun of the Dead. Have
I
you seen
love
that?
that movie.
It's such a good movie. And I was watching it, expecting it to be really scary, and I just found myself laughing my head off throughout the whole movie. And I just thought, this isn't a horror movie. This is great. Like this is so good. And it led into me just loving zombies. I started really getting into zombies, especially because at that time as well, Call of Duty World at War came out, and they introduced Nazi zombies.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody was crazy about zombies all of a sudden, and I was as well. So my friend and I just got super into it, and we bought a ton of zombie movies. And I just started from there. I was watching original George A. Romero movies like Night of the Living Dead, and the 1970s Dawn of the Dead is one of my favorite horror movies now. So it's kind of just built from there, and I just slowly branched out. And nowadays I really like supernatural kind of paranormal horror movies that, like, they can be a little bit cliche, but they're really great. I love them a lot. And they've just kind of, like I said, when I grew up not really being familiar with them, and I've just sort of learned to love them myself. And it's just not knowing what to expect has just brought everything full circle for me, and I really like it now.
Yeah, I remember when I got into the zombie craze was with The Walking Dead. That was another
Oh
show
yeah.
I snuck. At first I watched a few of the marathons. I missed quite a few episodes, but I would watch the marathons on AMC. And then we got my aunt's Netflix account, and then I started watching it. And then I remember I felt so guilty, and someone asked while we were scrolling through Netflix who's watching The Walking Dead. And I started panicking, and I'm like, "Oh, it's probably just our cousin. He's old enough to watch it." And they never they never asked any more of it. I also remember when I was like 5 or 6. I went to my cousin's house, and they had alien figures from, I think it was from Alien Resurrection, but the creatures just looked so cool, and I asked what they were, and they someone explained it to me, and then my dad came in and he's like, "Oh, hey, those are xenomorphs." And then on the drive home, he was explaining the premise of Alien to me. I didn't watch Alien for like another 5 years, but like just this concept of this alien parasite that can infect you and then burst out of you and become an ultimate killing machine was just so intriguing and fascinating to me. That also helped grow my love for horror. It
Yeah.
when I watched it, like it was like this almost religious experience, just because it was this thing I had heard about for like the past 4 or 5 years, and this was the first time encountering it, and it was just so terrifying and suspenseful. It was great.
Ah man, yeah, I can imagine. Do you know what? Alien's one of those movie series that I haven't really ventured into much. I've actually forgot about Alien because I watched that when I was about 13 years old with my dad, but I didn't find it very scary. 'Cause I think it didn't. I don't think it ages well. I mean, I'm talking.
Ooh,
I watched this like 12 years ago, so maybe I'm a little bit. I don't know. I just don't remember it very well, but I don't remember finding it very scary at all.
it's a lot of building up suspense and claustrophobia, and that's what it does best since it's set on this space. I think it's like an oil rig type ship, but
Yeah.
it's a confined space with this unknown creature and a limited amount of people with not many tools at their disposal to stop it. I would recommend checking it out again.
Yeah. Is it on our list? I can't remember.
I'm
If it's not, it's
scrolling
going on
through.
there.
I don't see it, so I'll add it
Okay,
to
let's
the
put it.
list.
Yeah, we're gonna put that on the list then, because I really want to watch that again as well. Like I said, I need an excuse to give it another chance because, if I remember right, I tried to watch it a few years ago, and it's quite a slow start, and my attention span was just too short, and I feel a bit guilty now because I should have really stuck through and watched it, but I just didn't, and yeah, now I have to.
Um, I would say if we're gonna watch them again, we could maybe watch Aliens. It's more action oriented, but there's still those horror elements looming from the first one.
Yeah.
Um, 3 is kind of a mess, and then 4 and all the other ones are just god awful.
So we didn't talk about this, but the way I was thinking with our list is that if we were to land on a movie that we've already seen, that we don't take them out of the pile, we just land on it again. Then we have to check if there was a remake or a sequel, and we have to watch either the remake or the sequel and talk about that.
All
So
right.
if we land on Alien, we have to watch Alien 1, but if we land on Alien again, we have to watch Aliens. If you understand, like,
Yeah.
and we work our way through them that way. So then we don't run out. We've technically got more than 68, 69 movies. We've got hundreds, but
And
yeah, it's kind of
then,
cool.
like, say if we land on, like, I don't know, Reanimator, and there's not, like, a sequel. There might be a sequel. I don't know. Just pulling something off the list. Would
Yeah.
we just pick something else again?
Yeah, I guess so. I wouldn't say we do the same movie twice.
All
But
right.
yeah, if there's a remake or a sequel, then I think that's like the time to do it.
All right. That works with me.
I think that'd be cool. It means that we can kind of branch out and check out these sequels, because I wouldn't want to watch, say, a sequel before watching the first movie if I haven't seen the first movie. So that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of my way around that problem.
Ah. All right. Yeah, I was wondering where Evil Dead 2 was. So,
yeah,
yeah,
that's why
that
I
makes
just
sense.
left it as Evil Dead. Yeah. So we'd work kind of like Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead Army of Darkness, and then if we landed on it a fourth time, we would
The
do the
remake.
remake. Yeah.
I kind of
So,
hope that happens.
yeah, me too. I like the remake.
I've never seen it, and I
Really?
want to watch it.
Oh man, that's a good movie. Yeah. So, I mean, we basically talked about how the show will work. Then that kind of gives it a. We've kind of defined pretty well how it's going to work. We go through each movie as it comes. We randomly pick one, and that's it. And we talk about it. We're going to go through basically everything. We kind of, are we going to do a spoiler? When we talk about it, are we going to do spoilers?
I would. Well, since it's going to be like 2 weeks in between the segments, I'd say that should be enough for anyone who wants to watch it to watch it.
That's true.
We'd obviously have a disclaimer before it, saying that there's going to be spoilers, but it's not just
Yeah.
going to be like, oh, guess what? Um, John Cena was in the movie the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's probably the best way to do it. Yeah, because we want this to kind of be like a community thing as well, where people are watching with us and they're talking about it with us. So it's a good way to do it, is that we give everyone a couple of weeks to watch a movie. I mean, it's easy enough. I've got a busy life, but I could still sit down for a couple of hours every 2 weeks and watch a movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that could work pretty well.
I have a question. Are we going to discuss movies that are out in theaters, like in the future? Because I know there's Pet Cemetery coming out. There's Us coming out. There's the new Chucky remake.
Yeah.
It Chapter 2 in the fall.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that one for sure.
Would we give like a spoiler free like review of that if we've both seen it, or
I mean, it's hard to say this far along the line, but I mean, with those movies, if we both happen to see a movie that's just come out that's a new one, we could do a bonus episode about that movie so we can accelerate it ahead of the queue so it's a bit more current with, when it comes out.
all
And
right?
then we could always do sort of like a long episode where the first half of the episode, we're just talking about the movie in a non-spoilery way, and then we could do like a musical break, and then we could just do the second half as like a kind of spoiler one where we talk about it, and it gives people that a bit of both.
All
You
right,
know,
that works for me.
I think that could work. So I mean, yeah, because like there's going to be movies that we're both going to see sooner than what's on the list, and we're going to want to talk about them. So they can just be bonus content, I guess.
All right.
Because yeah, I definitely want to see Pet Cemetery.
I'm really looking forward to Us.
I don't know that one.
It's the new horror movie from Jordan Peele. He did Get Out.
Oh yeah, I loved Get Out. Okay.
I tried avoiding the trailers, so I don't know specifically what it's about.
Yeah.
But I think there's a family and some burglars, I think, who break into their house. I don't know. I really liked Get Out, and I am excited to see whatever Jordan Peele does next.
Yeah, definitely. Right, I'm not going to look at anything for that because I want to go in with just a fresh head as I did with Get Out. So, yeah, I'm excited. That's awesome. I didn't realize there was another movie.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so should we do what we've been looking forward to for the whole episode? Should we pick our first movie?
Sure.
I'm excited.
So we have all of the movies on We'll Decide, and we're gonna click the screen and pick our next movie. Well, our first movie for next
Okay.
episode.
Okay.
So it's spinning. We have a movie called Creep. I have never heard of this.
Me neither. Creep. I
Um,
feel like I added that to the list because I went through just like lists and lists of like the best horror movies. I'm just going to quickly look it up as well. Creep is 2014, I think. Yeah, this is. I did see this one. This sounded quite cool, actually. Trying to find like a good way of summing it up. Okay, I've got this one. A young videographer answers an online ad for a one-day job in a remote town to record the last messages of a dying man. When he notices the man's odd behavior, he starts to question his intentions.
hmm.
Eerie. It looks like it's one of those kind of like shaky cam, like
Found
found footage.
footage.
Yeah,
Ooh.
like I like those kind of movies. What's your opinion?
Um, it can be hit or miss. If they're done with some talent behind it, I usually like it. But I didn't care for the Paranormal Activity movies. Most of the time, it was just we're gonna shake the camera and you can't really tell what's going on, and it's supposed to scare you when there's nothing
Yeah,
really to be afraid of.
I enjoyed those movies, but I don't know why anyone really found them scary. So I'm looking on IMDb. I don't know if you use any kind of websites when
Oh
you look
yeah,
at
I
these
was just
movies.
on IMDb as well.
It's got a 6.3. I mean, we'll go into this properly in the first episode, but
Yeah,
what I did find that's really cool is that there's only two actors in this movie, so
two actors.
interesting. That's it.
Oh,
From what I can see, the top build cast, there's two people and there's no one else. So interesting.
and one of them is the director and writer.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
That's
that's really cool.
really interesting.
Well, the two guys wrote it, so that's like a completely self-contained movie. They wrote a movie and they made it. Like that's that's really admirable. I hope this movie's good. I've heard it's decent.
Um, yeah, I'm really excited for this. I just found it on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. Okay,
Yeah,
that's good. I was gonna
and
say
there's
what
a
we got.
sequel.
There's a sequel. Okay, so if it comes up, we've got a sequel to watch.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is with us is that I mean, obviously, I live in the UK. You live in the US. So when it comes to Netflix, we've got like completely different list of movies. I'm gonna quickly check now to see if it's on there. But I've just subscribed to Shudder as well because it turns out I
Ah.
can get that. So if it's not, I can find it on there. If not, I can find it online somehow.
I believe with a VPN you can get around Netflix's like their region content.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'd
But it's
recommend
cool.
trying that.
It's on here. I've got it.
All right.
Great. I can watch it. So I'm excited. We've got our first movie. We've established how we want to do the show and, how things are going to go forward from here. So is there anything else you wanted to talk about, Graham?
No, I think that's pretty good for episode 0.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the good thing is that, like we said at the start, we don't really know each other super well. So it means we've got like loads of opportunities to just go off on like crazy tangents, talking about like our experiences with the movies and how they relate to our lives. It's kind of cool. We get to find out about each other at the same time as the listeners find out about each other.
Yeah.
So it's cool. All right, I'm happy to leave this as it is. I'm going to go away and watch this movie now, I think.
Yeah,
'Cause
so am I.
that's cool. So we can message each other and be like, "Oh, did you see this bit?" Cool. Okay, so guys, I hope you enjoyed listening to this so far. If you enjoyed this episode and you plan on watching along with
Listening.
us,
Oh,
listening,
oh,
watching the movie with
yeah.
us. We're on Twitter at Silver Screamcast. It's actually Cass because there was no space for the T, but just put the T. You'll find us. Don't worry. Silver Screamcast, and tweet at us. Let us know what you thought of the movie. Yeah, I'm really excited to meet all of you guys and see what you think of these movies with us.
Yeah, so am I.
Great. So we'll catch you in the first episode, and then we'll see what we all thought. Okay, great. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and we'll catch you later. Goodbye.
Bye.